The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
First off, I am 35 years old. I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river.
It is Monday, February the 8th, 2021, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all you Vicks Vapor Rubbing ravers on the planet, and welcome to the first episode of Erik's EDM World, a show featuring conversations with today's top and up-and-coming trance and progressive electronic music artists, along with some satire, sports, mainly American sports, because I really don't care what your soccer team in Europe is doing, and some general thoughts. My name is Erik with a K, and this show is presented by the HTM Podcast Network at hittingthemarks.com. Right before we get started, let me begin by expressing a massive thank you to Michael Jargo for allowing my rants and raves to be broadcast on his HTM Podcast Network. I am deeply humbled and honored to be a part of such a growing platform. All right. Now that all the niceties are out of the way and all the humble shit, what's first?
Hey, check it out. Lemon snow. What? Yeah, that stuff's delicious. Lemon snow? You mean it just falls from the sky like that? You bet. One of nature's treats. You gonna have some? Nah, I'm already full. But you should have some before the other kids get to it. What is it, like Italian ice? Yeah, exactly. Like a sorbet. Ah! That's not lemon! No, it's not. You bastard! I was having fun playing in the snow, and now you've ruined it like a pizza place ruins a salad!
Yep, that's exactly what's going to happen to millions of kids for tomorrow here in the greater Cincinnati area. Because, folks, the winter death is coming. The winter death is once again upon us. As I look outside my window right now, there's a little bit of snow on the ground. The temperatures are cold. But tonight, it's going to snow probably 3 to 5 inches. And I had no idea that this so-called snowstorm was on its way. But Mondays and Tuesdays are normally my days off from work. And I had to go to the grocery store. And I pull into the parking lot and I'm like, wow, this is pretty crowded for a Monday in the middle of the afternoon when everyone should be working, which is another topic, but... So I walk in and people are just going absolutely fucking crazy. Stocking their carts, of course with the staples, bread, milk, eggs, cereal, whatnot. And I just stopped in just for a couple things. Mainly some milk because, well, I was out. And I enjoy milk with my cereal. I eat cereal quite a lot. And of course... my cat, Jerome, he enjoys some milk too. And all of a sudden I hear everyone talking about this. I say, oh my God, it's going to snow. It's going to snow. So I pull up the Weather Channel app on my phone and sure enough, one forecast says 2 to 4 inches and the other says 3 to 5 inches. Let me be perfectly clear about something right now. 3 to 5 inches is not a snowstorm. It's not. If you talk to Michael Jargo, who once again is the owner of the HTM Podcast Network, he will tell you that 3 to 5 inches is merely a dusting. Because he lives out in the middle of absolutely nowhere in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And 3 to 5 inches of snow is just absolutely nothing. So there will be millions of kids for tomorrow who will play tricks on their friends and who will make those very gullible kids want to eat that delicious lemon snow. And as in terms of our temperatures here, oh my gosh. He sent me a screenshot for this morning where it's -4. That's Fahrenheit for you guys in Europe. And it feels like -19 Fahrenheit. That's pretty damn cold. The lows here for this weekend are supposed to dip down to about -5, and I'm really not looking forward to it at all. But I will be inside, writing as much as I can. I have an article that I need to finish up on my first guest of Erik's EDM World. It is none other than the head A&R for Future Sound of Egypt's UV division, Mr. Paul Thomas. And we had a wonderful chat last week, and I'm just getting around to putting this podcast, putting all the parts and pieces together for you. And we definitely look forward to hearing about the hour-long conversation that Paul and I had. But probably what I'll be doing for this weekend while we quote-unquote dig out of this 3 to 5 inches of snow will be listening to some music. And I want to touch on a topic that's really been bothering me for the past week or so, and that is the Anjunabeats label. As some of you may know, I have started doing a daily top 10 on my Facebook page where it's just random thoughts, and I mentioned something that really caught my eye. For those of you who don't know, Anjunabeats has introduced a new monthly newcomer EP series that highlights some of the new talent that this once exclusive label has now signed. Now, I'm all about signing new talent. I'm all about it. In fact, last year, Anjunabeats signed more new artists to their label than at any time in their history. But what is very concerning to me is how you showcase a person on your newcomer EP that A, is a lackluster DJ at best, which is fine. I have no problem with that, due to the fact that some of the greatest electronic music producers out there totally suck at DJing, but vice versa. A lot of great DJs know absolutely nothing about producing. And once again, that is fine and dandy. I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is that a major, very influential label such as Anjunabeats signing a person who does not produce their own music. A, it's a slap in the face to the label. And more importantly, B, it's a slap in the face to the probably thousands of people who have worked years to perfect their craft and who would probably give their left nut just to be signed to that label. I find it extremely disturbing, and it's just not right. Furthermore, a friend of mine sent me a message yesterday showing me what was on Anjunabeats' official Twitch page. And it was none other than a person dressed up as a furry. Yes, as a furry. Now, I'm all about freedom of expression. I truly am. I think it's one of the great things about the United States of America. But to allow this furry to DJ on your Anjunabeats page, along with signing a person who simply looks good in front of photos, it's really worrisome. And I'm not a fan of it. And if there's anyone out there who matters to the label and who may be listening to this, I hope you understand that you're going in the wrong direction, man. You're going in the complete wrong direction here. It's just not right. And while we're on the topic of people being engineered or flat out ghost produced, I have no problem with people getting help. I think collaborating with each other, tossing ideas off of each other, sending this little stem to someone, hey, how does this sound? You know, hey, how does this sound? I think that's great. I think it's wonderful. But don't be included on a newcomer EP when you've done nothing? Absolutely nothing. Furthermore, I think we all know that some of the biggest trance and progressive artists in the world are either engineered or flat out ghosted. I think we all know that. But we're really not 100% sure, are we? And why is that? Because no one has the balls to ask them. Not one person from Mix Mag, not one person from DJ Mag, not one person from Trance Farm, not one person from EDM.com. No one has asked these guys whether they're engineered and or ghosted. Because it's a taboo topic, isn't it? We don't talk about that, do we? Well, that's bullshit. Let's go back as early as 2 years ago. With the exception of maybe one or two people who are just God's gift to electronic music that's producing, you can't tell me that these guys produce their own stuff when they're playing in one country one night and literally another country for the very next night. There's only 24 hours in a day, people, and there's no way that you are able to put together a string of music, much less an album, in that time frame. It's not feasible. Okay, I'm all pissed off now. What's next?
8 threes himself. Well, you want to make sure you can't give a guy a shot. You got to make sure you switch and extend out. The and now Wall for the win. No timeouts for Miami. No foul. Oh my goodness. He was the number 1 recruit in all of college basketball. And in his first official game as a Wildcat, John Wall knocks down the jumper to give Kentucky a 72-70 win.
Jonathan Hildred Wall Jr. That was John Wall back in 2009 in what was the beginning of Coach John Calipari's coaching era, and what was also the beginning of year after year us seeing a rotating door, a revolving door in college basketball of kids coming to college for 1 year before going on to the NBA. And some great memories. But what has happened to Kentucky basketball this season? Once again, a new crop of freshmen. But something's different about this team. Something's very different about this 5-win and 12-loss Kentucky team. What is it? Well, I think when you really look at it, you see a group of kids, and I do emphasize kids. You have to remember these young men are 18, 19 years old. They're just not playing together. They're playing for themselves. They came to Kentucky for one reason, so their draft stock would soar through the roof, and after this season, they would be a high draft pick. Well, when you play individually and not as a team, bad things happen. And this could be said for any line of work. Bad things are going to happen. And this Kentucky team has completely imploded. I've been a Kentucky fan all my life. And this is by far the worst Kentucky team that has ever been assembled. The personalities don't match on this team. When you're showboating, when you're looking out for number one, when you're looking out for your own personal glory, when the only reason why you're wearing that Kentucky jersey is so you'll be recognized on a national stage, far better than any other school save 5. That's a problem. So I think what you're going to start to see towards the end of this season is a spearheaded conversation about the whole one and done system, about where when you come out of high school, you have to go to college for 1 year before you can go to the NBA. But the NBA is kind of already doing something about this. The NBA has something called the G League. And it's simply the minor league basketball league of the NBA. And a lot of high school players are opting out of college so they can be a part of the National Basketball Association's system. I think their thought process is, once I get into the G League, I'm going to have NBA scouts looking at me every game, and it'll be easier for me to move up. It's the same thing in baseball. You've got Major League Baseball, and then you've got the farm systems. You've got the minor league teams. And it's the same way for soccer in Europe too. You've got the Premier League, and then you've got the farm systems underneath. It's not lucrative. I think the average salary for a NBA G League player is about $35,000 per year. But once again, the mindset is I'm being looked at by NBA scouts every single time I step onto the court. And I might make it to the NBA. Let's say somebody gets hurt. Let's say someone's out as in terms of an illness. I might be moved up to the NBA and sign that contract. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation that I think is really going to be talked about towards the end of this college basketball season. And it'll be interesting to see. So, with that said, now is a good time to mention our sponsor, justcbdstore.com. Head over to justcbdstore.com and check out their wonderful products, as in terms of vape pens, edibles, gummies, and I think you'll be really impressed. Order online and enter the code HTM and receive a discount. That's at justcbdstore.com. And I'll be right back with Paul Thomas. All right. His big break was landing a residency at the world-famous God's Kitchen in Birmingham so many moons ago. I won't say the year because it'll make us both feel old. He's embarked on many global DJing tours and was a significant player in bringing Mark Knight's house and tech house-oriented tool room records the attention it so richly deserved in the mid-2000s. He's released original songs on practically every major label imaginable, and his musical diversity is evident by having recording contracts with Bandit, Outburst, Little Mountain, Garuda, Black Hole, and so many more. His remix talents have been sought by everyone from Paul Oakenfold to Tiësto, from Basement Jacks to Chicane, and from Underworld to Deadmau5. In the summer of 2017, this veteran artist teamed up with Ali and Fila to release UV as a celebration, marking the launch of a future Sound of Egypt sub-label of the same UV name. In March 2021, UV will hit its 150th release, and I couldn't be more proud to welcome Paul Thomas to the show. Paul, how the hell are you?
I'm good. I'm all right. I'm not too bad, thank you very much. Coping as well as anybody's coping at the minute. So yeah, not too bad.
So, this isn't the first time you and I have sat down for a chat, is it, Paul?
It isn't. No. We sat down with John Double Fleming a couple of years ago or so, I think it was.
Yeah.
So, but it's always good to speak to you. So I'm looking forward to our chat.
Absolutely, and me as well. I kind of want to reference that article just a little bit. We covered a lot of ground, but the one thing that we didn't cover, how you and Ali and Fila sort of teamed up, how you were chosen to be the artist and repertoire for this new UV label. Tell us a little bit about how that started.
Well, I've known Faddy from Maddie and Feeder for a long time now. Through our God's Kitchen days when he used to come and play for us in Birmingham, which is my hometown here in the UK. And I hadn't seen him for a couple of years or so, and then I had no idea he was looking to kind of branch out with FSOE and create this new underground label. And I just happened to bump into him at a festival that we were playing at in India, backstage at a festival, Supersonic Festival in Pune in India in early 2017. And we were just talking, and he was telling me that he was playing some of my music, and I'd just gone back to making progressive in the past like 6 months at that time, 6 months to a year. From trying to find a way into like the more of a trancey, fast-paced stuff that I was doing. I'd gone back to my roots, and I was really surprised. And I vividly remember saying to him, "There's no way that you're playing my stuff. Like it's the track that he referenced was I can't remember what track it was, but I remember it was 122 BPM, and I was like a 16 BPM away from what you do." Yeah. And he was like, "No, man, like when I'm doing my open to close sets, this is the kind of stuff that I'm starting with. And then I'm building it up from there. And what I actually want to do is I want to start a label like for this kind of music." And a light bulb just went off in my head straight away. And I was just like, I could do that label. Mm-hmm. I could definitely do that for you guys, because I was at that time, I remember clearly that it was almost like I was having such a renaissance of ideas and kind of music I wanted to make and put out, and was so excited, almost like I was when I first started putting music out, because the EDM bubble had burst, the commercial EDM bubble had burst. Everyone was starting to kind of get hold of this new progressive sound. So I was like, I was super excited. So I said to him, "Look, I'm sure I could kind of get involved in this. Let me send you some of my new stuff that I just made. Just signed a couple of tracks to Armada for their electronic elements label at the time, Dark Heart and Red Skies." Yeah. And I got home, literally as soon as I got back to the hotel, I sent him these 2 tracks. And he emailed me back straight away and said, "This is exactly what I'm looking for.
Wow.
Can we discuss further?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm definitely, I'm up for that. That's great." So he said, "Look, I prefer to have these discussions in person. So the next time I'm in the UK, let's sit down." So I said to him, "Look, send me your schedule and stuff, and let's see when you're playing." He wasn't playing in the UK for ages, and I was like, I wanted to get going with this project. I was looking, God's Kitchen had finished. Mm-hmm. So like my involvement with God's Kitchen was done. I was making my own stuff, but I truly believe that every kind of new or smaller artist need a big brand behind them. So I was like, I've got this gap where I need something to help me. We're both on the same wavelength. I want this to happen straight away, basically. So he sent me his schedule, and he was playing in Amsterdam at Easter of 2017, an open to close. And I remember going to him. I remember flying. I said to him, "Look, I'm going to fly to Amsterdam to meet you." And he was. I remember him saying, like, that's really, I like that. I like the fact that you're so keen that you're going to fly to Amsterdam for the meeting. So
ambitious of you.
Yeah. Well, it was, if you want these things, I think you have to go and get them.
Yeah.
So I flew to Amsterdam on the Saturday morning. He'd played on the Friday night at Panama, and he was playing on the Saturday night. And I flew to Amsterdam, and I went to his hotel. I remember calling him, texting him, getting the hotel to bring his room. No answer. And I was like, man, I didn't even have a hotel. I was literally flying in and back out again the same day. So I was just like, I've only got a couple of hours. What happens if you don't get hold of him? And then I called his manager, Stuart Roberts, who's now one of my best mates. But at the time, I didn't really know Stuart that well. And I remember calling him saying, look, I've flown all the way to Amsterdam. I can't get hold of him. What's going on? And finally, Faddy comes down, voice gone, from where because he DJ'd for I think his open to close might have been the night before. No, it wasn't. It wasn't the night before. It was normal FSOE, and he'd gone to bed really late. And he comes in and he's just like, I'm so sorry. I really apologize. He couldn't talk properly because he's smoking at night. And anyway, so we sat down, me, him, and Stu, and we were talking about this project and stuff. And Faddy said, we were completely on the same page about everything, about the type of music, the ideas, the concepts, everything. And Faddy said to me, he said some really important things that really enticed me into the whole project. It was, number one, I'm going to do a collaboration with you, which turned out to be UV, the track that you just heard. I'm going to sign you to the DJ agency, and I'm going to have you DJing at the pyramids in Egypt. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, wow.
Back by that.
Yeah, that's amazing,
You just hit the lottery.
Yeah, exactly. But, I've been in this industry for a long, 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 long time. And usually when people say these kind of things to you, you take them with a pinch of salt, right? You think, well, if one of those things happens, great. But usually when somebody, you're used to people feeding these things to you in the music industry to kind of get you in, and they don't always deliver. You know what the music industry is like, not just the dance music, the whole of the music industry is like it. People don't deliver. But Faddy had delivered everything within 4 months. Within 4 months of him saying, we're going to do this, and this. Sorry, within 6 months of us, doing this, and this, he delivered everything.
Yeah.
And it honestly, it goes to show the mark of the person that he is, that he's always, even now, 4 years down the line, he's still true to his word now. If he says he's going to do something, he always does it. It's been from then, I remember going home from Amsterdam and kind of coming up with the plans, and kind of he sent me the idea for UV, and we wrote the record, and everything has just snowballed nicely into what we've got now. And so that was how we kind of it was a chance meeting backstage at a show, because he could have just gone on and asked somebody else, or and I would never have dreamt about sending my music to him, because why would I didn't think that's what he was doing. So it's a remarkable kind of stroke of luck in a way, is how it all came together, I guess.
Talk a little bit about the some of the early months with you being at the A&R for that label. How much guidance did Ali and Fila give? Or were you thrown to the wolves, or?
Yeah, well, it was kind of
Addictive?
like, I mean, I've always, I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit of a control freak. I always have been with music and projects and something that I kind of call my own. I've always been, even the social media online, the we do our UV socials. I can't let anybody else do those because I like things delivered in a certain way. The way we talk and the way we deliver everything. To me, it needs to be delivered in a certain way. So I've always been done 95% of the A&R of what we do. There's been plenty of times where I haven't been sure about a record and I've sent it to Faddy, and Faddy's been like, "No, I don't think it's good enough," or we should definitely take a punt on it or whatever. But from the start, it's pretty much been me from the start, I would say. I'm trying to think of the process that we started with. I think we started with, originally it was going to be it was just going to be like a monthly release schedule of once a month. And then quickly after we announced UV, we just got inundated with music straight away. And it was just like, like any label, I'd imagine you get music that does not suit the label. But we were also getting a lot of really, really good music. And there was also a lot of artists that I was really keen on getting on board, a lot of artists from the UK that are delivering a certain sound, which I think really fits in with my music. And it quickly became apparent that we were going to have to up the release schedule quite a bit. And we pretty much went straight to once a week, which sounds like an awful lot of music, and it is. It's a full-time job. UV it takes a lot of running to get the music out, but I think that the releases kind of perpetuate each other now. But that's why it's become like, somebody will listen to a track one week and not just buy that track, they'll listen to the other tracks that have also come out recently and buy those as well. So it all kind of snowballs, really.
Yeah. In the 4 years since this has started, and I'm sure this is how it is with practically every record label out there, where you're sent really all types of music, but in keeping with that UV model, how has the music either changed or how has it progressed from this time back in 2017?
Well, I kind of judge it on, I guess the style has kind of it's kind of fluctuated a little bit, actually, because I remember when I kind of first started UV, I had a very trancey progressive house sound is probably the best way of describing it. Like the melodies are very trance, even if the beats are quite housey. And then I've fluctuated from to being into the deeper progressive stuff to being into more of a melodic techno vibe. But now I'm coming back round to the more trancier side of progressive again, not progressive trance, because the beats are very, very different for me. The grooves are very different.
Yeah.
The beats that I'm putting out and making are still very house orientated, but the melodies are definitely going more towards the trance scene. So I guess we've weaved in and out of kind of styles. I kind of, as we've gone along, I've been artists. Sorry?
Why is that?
My own person.
Fluctuated just from here to there.
I've always been an artist that's just naturally moved. We've got this. There's like a channel of like house and trance and techno, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always weaved in between those in terms of just my own personal style and mood, basically. For a few months I'll be really into like kind of trancier melodies, and then I'll move into then I'll move into more of a kind of, I don't know, a rolling techno feel. It's just my natural mood, I think, of kind of liking different stuff. But I've just finished mixing this 150 compilation to celebrate the 150 release of UV, and I mixed it. We did 100 last year. This time last year, we're doing 150 now. And I look back at the music that we've put out in the past year, and it's really strong. But I look at the music that we've got coming again, man, and it's the best music we've ever put out. And I think that has been the biggest change. Is I think over time, the music has got better, the standard has got better, and the type of artist that we're getting now is, we've got Jerome Ismay involved with some stuff. We've got Stereo Express, Oliver Giacomoto's done some stuff for us, and we're kind of growing each time. As time goes on, we're growing and we're enticing bigger artists, but also the artists that we brought on board when they were like Franca, for instance, and Dylan. They're growing with us at the same time, which is really, really good as well.
So when you really think about it, your personal tastes fluctuating, that in itself dictates what's acceptable inside of the marketplace, is it not?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is, because I will, I'll often, I'm quite varied with the music that we sign, I believe. I do think I'm quite varied, but my only stipulation with UV is I've got to be able to play it. That's my, and obviously it's going to be good, but I've got to fit it into my sets. And that is my only kind of, my only thing, I don't believe, I like to, UV is a representation of me. And I think if I'm signing music that I wouldn't play myself, it doesn't represent what I'm doing, so it's kind of, it has to fit in within those boundaries of what I'm going to play, really.
So UV is your baby, but it's also still a representation of the future sound of Egypt brand.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you have to maintain a certain level of responsibility to cater to the business model. It's kind of like you're playing God, but not so much, right?
I think the one thing that's really evident about all the labels and the label A&Rs that Ali and Fido have entrusted into bringing on board in FSOE is they're all very, very good at what they do. They're kind of left to their own device, sign music that they want to sign, which is kind of like, putting a lot of trust into them, because like you say, it's the music that you're putting out is a reflection of not just UV and not just me, but it's a reflection of FSOE and Ali and Fido as well. So you have to trust somebody to be able to do that and deliver it properly. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that every single A&R do that. I think they're all very good at what they do. They're all very proud of their brand, and they would, they sign music that is a true reflection of themselves as well as the brand. I spoke to Dan Stone last night for 2 hours, talking about music planning for this year ahead, and and there's a real strong commitment for all the A&Rs to be able to deliver properly with the music that they're putting out.
What were some of the things that you and Dan did talk about? I mean, not to get it's completely off subject here, but like in terms of Dan, he's someone who I admire as well.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a wonderful guy. He's one of my best friends in the music industry, actually. It was mainly just talking about Fables, to be honest with you, because not only do I A&R for UV, but I also I oversee all the labels at FSOE. I'm kind of the head of all the labels, making sure that everything gets delivered properly and all the music is looked after properly. So we were mainly talking about Fables and their releases for this year and what they've got going on and different ideas and different concepts, and just, you know, it's a lot of work running a record label. You know, it's kind of, you know, not only do you have to kind of sign music and do the A&R, you also have to release music at the right time and build the relationships with the different kind of platforms, deliver the music in the right way to the different artists, and you know, it's a bit of a military job sometimes trying to deliver everything properly. So we were just discussing his plans for 2021.
It's really interesting that basically ever since this time last year, when that the current world situation took a nosedive, the popularity of the progressive house and the progressive trance has really started to flourish now. And since music really isn't made for the dance floor, do you see artists starting to gravitate toward the progressive route? And in your opinion, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And are they doing it right?
I do think more are kind of gravitating. I think it's a perfect time to be trying new things. So like I also did it in the past 12 months of trialing certain sounds and certain releases, and it doesn't matter if they don't quite work, which a good few of the releases didn't last year of my own. And it's been good to kind of get myself into the right headspace, which I'm currently in now, to figure out where I want to be and what I want to deliver for 2021. And I think a lot of artists are doing that now. I just had a promo through from Standerwick, which is on Armada, which is a really, really cool underground prog record, you know. And I do think, you know, we one of our biggest supporters at the moment is Dash Berlin. He's supporting all UV stuff. So I think maybe the landscape might change a little bit when things start again, and people might be playing stuff that they might not have done before. And I do think it is a brilliant thing, if I'm totally honest with you. Tiësto announced that he was launching his Fur West project. I thought it was incredible, especially in the prog scene, because for my type of prog, the stuff that I released that is I feel leans very much into the trance world. There isn't really anybody championing like a real kind of headliner. Like Above and Beyond play a lot of my music, but they're still not quite what I do, you know. But there isn't really anybody like kind of stadium filler that was doing it. So when Tiësto suddenly launched this project, I was like, okay, this is somebody that could really push our industry, our scene, could really, really do it. And, you know, I know a load of people were saying that, oh, you know, he's jumping on bandwagon. And I don't see it like that at all. I see that project as an opportunity, or anybody that does it, Dash Berlin, any of those guys that are kind of starting to push the more deeper or progressive sound, or whatever you want to call it. I see it's an opportunity for all of us, you know, that there's more people to open the doors that we need to open, you know, more people to bring it to the masses. That's ultimately what's kind of, you know, I don't want progressive to be this little niche sound that only a few people are into, because what's the point? You know, don't get me wrong, it's great that I love playing to rooms of 200 people. In fact, I love it more than anything. I'd rather play to small rooms. But why wouldn't anyone want to get their music in front of as many people as possible? You know, I think it's a great thing that that people are trying something new and taking hold of it. There's a few people that have been sent demos from that you do know that are trying to make this music to fit with the times, and not because they like it. Because you can just tell by the production that it's kind of, thrown together, almost like a proper trance record pitched down, I'm not going to name names, but I get demos quite a lot from that, from established artists. But, there's people that are doing it and you can tell that they're really into it. Tiësto could just sit and do nothing now. He's got all the money in the world. He's got, he's still got his career at Tiësto, but he wants to do something new, and I think that just it just shows that the passion and the love is still there. I think it should be admired, and it's the same for David Guetta with a completely different type of music to what we're doing, but he's got his Jack Back project, which is back to kind of real cool underground house. And he doesn't need to do that either. He's got all the money in the world. He could just sail off into the sunset, but he's got that passion to be doing, something new and exciting and different and involving the scene.
And you've probably been asked this question 100 times, but why is Tiësto the punching bag? And,
I agree.
And he seems to be the Steve Aoki of our scene.
Yeah, I agree. I think people that, I think like Tiësto was the person really who really took trance music into the stratosphere. And I think people obviously were just a little bit kind of felt almost cheated on. But when I look at some of these people online and they're still like, I've never forgiven Tiësto and blah, 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 they're just saying like psycho ex-girlfriends or ex-boyfriends that just can't cope with being dumped. It's just, I do find it a little bit bizarre that people can't just let these things go. Tiësto didn't have any kind of, I think he was largely responsible for making trance into what it was, as well as several other artists. But he didn't owe trance music anything. He doesn't. I mean, maybe I can say this because I come from a trance background. Like that is what got me into electronic music in the first place. But then in the late 90s, I quickly got into what Sasha and Digweed and Dave Seaman and Nick Warren and all these guys were doing. So I left trance behind. So by the time Tiësto came, I did like Tiësto at the time, but by the time he came around, I was fully into progressive. Like I wasn't, I guess Tiësto was more of a progressive DJ back then anyway. But I didn't really have any kind of emotional attachment to what he was doing, so maybe I find it easier to just to let it go. But I think sometimes people take music. I mean, I don't know whether this is like the right mindset or the right thing to say, but I think sometimes people take music too seriously. I think music is there for people to enjoy and have fun to. And if somebody decides to do something different and have, deliver a different type of music for people to have fun to, what is the problem? Just because they don't like it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be doing it, really.
There are so many artists out there that help each other with songs. 5 seconds until before sunrise, that was co-written by Camel Fat. And are you starting, or have you seen the majority of artists that you sign, are they helping each other with songs, or are these guys,
I think
are a lot of these guys should being ghosted, or
Yeah, I don't think I would sign somebody that was fully ghosted, if I'm completely honest, because usually when somebody's got a ghostwritten record, it usually sounds like a carbon copy of something else. And I think if, I like to think that UV is quite an original and forward thinking label and not copying anything that anybody else is doing. I think we've got our own thing going on, I mean, I got sent a record recently, which was basically Allegro. Somebody had written a record, and it was basically my Allegro record. Just it had the electro that slowed down and back up again in the breakdown, and it was very, it was really, it was a carbon copy of my own track.
Yeah,
and I just look at it and I just think, why are you doing it? And I think that's the same with people who are ghostwrited. You don't really have any say in the record whatsoever.
mm-hmm.
I think with engineering, it's very different. I think there's people have incredible ideas that can't manipulate them or can do certain things. They can arrange a record, but they can't write the parts, or they can write the parts, but they don't know how to arrange, or they don't know how to work different frequencies in to pull the best out of the records, whatever, that is fine for me, and we get that quite a lot of the records are kind of or engineered, but with ghostwriting, not as far as I know, not on UV. I wouldn't, it's not something that I would like to push or support. But again, I have not got a problem with people that do it either at the same time, because it happens in every single step of the music industry. So why not dance music? Just because it doesn't suit me, and it's not something that I would want to put out, because I don't really think it would be a forward-thinking thing to do for the label.
Yeah.
But again, I don't have a problem with it. I've got no idea what Ver West's involvement was in that record, but it's a good track. I like it. I play it. So
good song,
and yeah, it is. It's a good, put it this way: if somebody had sent that to me for UV, I would have signed that for sure.
Yeah.
So that's, but I'm a big fan of Camel Fat. I like Camel Fat.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So, but it's a bit of a funny area, I think, with ghostwriting. I think a lot of people get very angry about it, and I'd get it. I do get it, because people have put their life and soul into learning how to make music. But again, I just think there's more important things to worry about in the world, to be honest.
Yeah. I think a lot of it too is have the most success with doing the least amount of work, and especially now with us all pretty much being on some sort of lockdown for the past 12 months, not being able to see, our family, friends, hug each other, hang out at a club, whatever. We as a people need affirmation now more than ever, and we'll go to pretty much any lengths in order to get that. So in order to get those social media likes, in order to get the Instagram, likes, you're going to pay money to have that success.
Yeah.
And I see both sides of it, but at the same time, doesn't the record label have a responsibility to uphold the integrity of the artists that they've already signed who have done that work on their own?
Yeah. Yes is the short answer. I think so. I think I think it is a difficult one. I think I'm trying to think what was the point you said before that. I was thinking about something in my head that I was going to reply to, and I can't remember what it was. Trying to think. What did you say just before that? before that point? Trying to think.
Which point?
I had a kind of thought in my head about music and originality. But yes, back to your point. Yes, I do think a label does have a responsibility for supporting the artists that are creating. Like, for instance, there's 4 in particular that I've got on UV. We've got Dylan, I've got Fuenka, Sean and D, and Yedden. 4 key artists that I've really tried to push in the past 12 months to 2 years. And I do think it would be a kick in the teeth for them if all of a sudden somebody just came in with a track that was not theirs, essentially, and I was given that support and airtime. I do think that. I do think ghostwriting is a very slippery road as well. And it's got so many flaws in it. If you were the artist that was being ghostwritten, not just ghostwriting, but buying your fake likes or your fake followers or all that kind of rubbish as well, because you can get wrapped up into a world that is completely and utterly fake and not there. You know, like, for instance, you know, if you're buying so many likes on or followers on these different platforms, how do you know what is real or what feedback is correct when you're posting the things that you're posting? How do you know that is the right thing to be posting? Or how do you know that people are being receptive to the music that you're posting about?
I think that if you've gone to that point in using click farms and you're buying likes and things of that sort, if you've gotten to that point, I don't think you care.
Yeah, you don't think you care. And it's the same with ghostwriting as well. Because, you know, if you're ghostwriting, your music has zero identity, none whatsoever. You know, if you're just picking off a track off a shelf, or if you're saying to somebody, I like this track, make me something like it, with no control or no artistic development over the record whatsoever, you don't have an identity, you have somebody else's identity. Mm-hmm. And then when you if that person doesn't want to work with you anymore, or just stops ghostwriting or whatever, or decides that they don't want to sell their songs anymore, mm-hmm. you've then got to go find somebody else that has a different identity, a different way of writing music. And then you're starting again with this whole different kind of sound and a different identity. And then it could happen again and again. And there's nothing to your your brand or nothing to your music to relate to you as an artist. Do you know what I mean? There's no it's just soulless. It's just kind of soulless, and I can see straight through it as well. As I could, you know, when somebody sends me a track, I also like to check them out, check out their other music, or, you know, somebody that I haven't heard, check out their other music, or check out their social media and all that kind of stuff. And you can kind of gauge then what kind of person they are, where the music comes from, I think. Yeah.
As someone who's listened to literally hundreds of thousands of songs, how can you tell straight away if random person A sends you a track? How do you know that it's ghosted?
I guess you don't. I guess, I suppose in a way, if it is ghosted, sometimes I've had tracks through where they've done something in exactly the same style as one of the other tracks on the label, like what I had with Allegro. Mm-hmm. And they'll ask somebody to make something to fit a certain sound. You can hear it with Anjuna all the time. Like, I hear tracks that might not have been ghostwrited actually, but they're made to fit a certain label, you know, like, and you hear it with, you know, with some of these records. I guess you don't know for sure. I guess you don't know for sure. And it is difficult, but I think if somebody, you know, it's not something I turn around and ask ever, because I just don't think it is the thing that could be done. I don't think you can turn around and say, you know, does somebody else completely made this record, you know? And obviously when somebody signs a record, you get sent the credits of the track, you know, so I know who's engineered and who isn't, which doesn't bother me in the slightest. I think it's great that people use engineers, actually, because it's a great way of learning. But with ghostwriting, obviously, if it's ghostwritten, you don't put anybody on the credits, so you don't know for sure. But I can, you know, but sometimes you'll get something, and if it's progressive, I got my finger on the pulse, and I know who I can, you know, I've got my weekly radio show. I'm listening to everything that comes out. And if somebody sends me, if something's ghostwritten, it's going to sound like something else. Definitely, you know, because that's the way it works. Somebody says, I want something to sound like this. Or the ghostwriter will just sit down all day and they'll copy and write records that sound like other records, other popular records. So when it comes through, you know that if it sounds just like something else, there's a good chance that it's going to be ghostwritten. And if it's not ghostwritten, you don't want to sign it anyway because it just sounds like something else.
Here's kind of a fun question to ask right before we get into the 150th celebration release. And I think I already know the answer to this, but has anyone ever offered you money to sign their record?
Well, no. Well, not for my label, but I did have. Funny you should say it, because I had a demo, because I obviously run everything to do with UV, but I also work and run all the other labels as well. I oversee everything to do with the labels at FSOE.
Yeah. And
part of that is I get all the demos in. I list, like, you know, and I sit with Faddy, and Faddy goes through them and listens to them, works out what we want, and we'll sign them what we don't. And I listened, we had this demo through the other day, and this guy, and he was just like, blah, 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 writing a spiel about the track. And then at the end, it was like, I will personally pay you $100 if this record gets signed to FSOE. And I just thought it was funny, but I also thought it was like the mark of the label that they want to get on FSOE so much, so badly, that they will pay money to do it.
Yeah,
I think shows how high standing the label is in the trance world, you know.
Yeah, and with that label being most definitely a sort of like a bucket list,
yeah,
for practically every artist out there.
Yeah.
How much of an influence does someone's social media following, their popularity level at that point, their marketability, solely based upon their name, how much does that actually weigh in whether or not that song is signed? And if that song were sent in by some dude A, it wouldn't have gotten signed.
Well, strictly from speaking for the FSOE main label, Ali and Fila A&R everything. They have the decision on like Faddy will say to me, even if the record isn't anything like what we want to sign, I want to hear it. He wants to listen to every single track, and you don't get that nowadays with many like artists of Ali and Fila's size. I believe. I know Armin also does it. He's also the same at Armada as well. And I think that's a really good thing, you know, that people are still that passionate about what the music they want to play. And Ali and Fida are very, very, very music driven rather than stats or size or, you know, that looking at that kind of thing. So they would sign it virtually all based on how good the record is. Mm-hmm. And my job is to run the labels. So my job is to make sure that these records are going to do well. So I often have I also say to Fadi, look, we want to make sure that some of these artists are kind of, you know, have also got a popularity or doing well on streaming platforms or have a presence on social media or whatever. But Ali and Fida are all like, if it fits, we sign it. If it works, we sign it. If it doesn't, we don't. And that is it. And that, I think, is the most single important thing in having an identity to your brand. Mm-hmm. And it's also, I do also have the same thing with UV as well. Like I said, if it's got, I've got to play it and I've got to like it to sign it. What we've done recently is, because there was, we've started a new series called Future Sound EP, mm-hmm. which we're launching soon, which is basically for new artists on FSOE. Because I think that sometimes they can get lost in between the big names sometimes. So I think, so we launched this new EP, which we're hoping, you know, you might want to get behind and push on your platforms, and other people, you know, other people in the media and blogs might want to get involved in as well, sure, to give them more of a focus, you know. I think it's that finding a nice, healthy balance. I mean, I've sent Fadi records before and Ali and Fida records before for the demos that have been sent. And you know what people are like, especially new names, they don't label things properly. So it'll just say, like, I'll download the track, I'll put it in a folder. And Fadi will listen to it in the folder, and it might just say Master One with no artist name or something. Yeah. But he'll listen to it, and if he likes it, he won't care that whether it's, he would listen to it and it'll say Master One. He'll like, I like that, I want to sign that. No idea who it is. It's about the music, you know. It's about how you know, you've got, obviously with a big brand, you've got to have successful names as well, and like successful, you know, we have to do well on streaming platforms. Yeah, you know, we have to have artists that are doing good figures on the streaming platforms. We have to have artists that are gonna bring people into what we're doing. But also, I do believe that all big labels have a responsibility to bring through new artists as well. Mm-hmm. I think that is really important. Yeah, because how else do these people get a platform? Right. You know, yeah. It's you know, but like I said to you with UV, we've got Dylan, Yedden, Sean and D, and Frenke. Mm-hmm. And I would say that a couple of years ago, nobody had heard of those names, I would say. You know, and we created a new radio show, weekly radio show for those guys. We're getting them good remixes. We're getting them, you know, their streams are growing more and more and more, and we're pushing them, and I'm mentioning them as much as I can. And I've done collaborations with 3 out of 4 of them, and I'm going to do a collaboration with Yedden to push their names more and more. And you've got a responsibility to grow these artists and make them, you know, and give them an opportunity, because also not only is it good for them, it's also good for your brand. If you've got, you know, if you're building them up and they suddenly blow up and become huge, they're with you then. You look at Anjunabeats, you know, they've done exactly the same with Ilan Bluestone and Jason Ross and all these guys, you know. And now they've got a whole wall of artists that Mars, you know. It's great. It's like an army that they've got there now.
And if you can sort of be responsible for the growth and the development of that artist through your label, well, it's a win-win, right?
Yeah. It is. it is. It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Because you're giving something back. You're giving an artist an opportunity, and it just feeds through into what you're doing. And if you get it right, you get the right kind of artist, and you kind of recognize that you've got to polish the gem a little bit, and it's just like gold dust, isn't it? It's great for everyone.
Yeah. So speaking of win-win, let's jump into the 150th release of your brand, and why don't you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, so I feel like we quickly got to 150 releases since we only started in, July 2017. What I like to mark the milestone with each time we get to one of these kind of milestones is having some of my favorite tracks on the label remixed. So last year we had a really big track from Sean and D and Melody Stranger called Apollo, which done really well. It got a lot of support. It did really well on Beatport. It was one of our biggest selling records of last year. In fact, one of our biggest selling records we've ever put out. So that's been remixed by Fuenca, who are a UK-based duo who are doing some amazing music, some amazing, really, really good stuff. So they've remixed the first one, which is out at the end of February. And the next one is a track that we released at the beginning of last year by Stan Kolev called Ahimsa, which has been remixed by Stereo Express. It's a bass. Yeah. His music is incredible.
To that one, yeah.
Yeah. It's an awesome remix. And it's some trying to, I've done one for the newer talent that we're bringing through, Sean and D and Fuenca are two of my key artists that I'm really trying to push. So we've done one for the kind of more up and coming artists, and then we've done one which for the established ones of Stan and Stereo Express to kind of, I guess for profile and kind of, wider reach and support, I guess. But they're both brilliant remixes. They're awesome.
So this is going to be a two-part release, right?
Yeah. So we've got the first one is out at the end of February, last Friday in February, which is Apollo, and then the second one, Ahimsa, is out the following week, the beginning of March, and then we drop the 150 compilation in the middle of March.
Yeah. So the first one will be out on February 26th, and the second one that following Friday on March the 5th.
That is it. Yeah.
With the compilation probably coming a couple weeks later. Yeah.
Right. On the 15th, I think the compilation is. Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it all sounds extremely exciting, and Paul, is there anything that I left out?
No, I don't think so. It is an exciting time, I think, with the label. It's I've got so much music signed up till July. I'm getting to the point now where when we start DJing again, when I'm starting touring again, I've decided that it's going to be pretty much the whole of my set is going to be pretty much either UV or my own music. So that's where we're trying to evolve everything to now, to really trying to evolve UV into being, having total domination over my sets. Whether kind of, my own version of some of our releases or my own bootlegs, or whether it is my own releases on the label, and just kind of keeping hold of some of these amazing records that we've got, and hopefully releasing them a little bit later down the line when we can hear them in clubs again.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I'm trying to do.
Right before I let you go, I did want to ask you one last question, and this is more on the DJing side of things. And I've asked probably 2 or 3 artists to that I've written about this same question, and kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. But when we start to have shows again,
Yeah.
we're starting to see little small pockets of shows, but when the world really starts to open back up again, do you see these major artists who belong to artist agency groups? Do you see those groups and those agencies push their higher tier artists harder than of what they were already being pushed pre-lockdown, so they will try to recoup money not earned? Now, it's not money lost, but it's money not earned, and there's a huge difference in that.
Yeah.
And my concern is that you're going to have Paul Van Dyke, you're going to have Giuseppe, you're going to have, Hernan, you're going to have all of these guys playing everywhere, every weekend, on every bill. Where does that leave that the little guy who is already trying to build himself up that ladder, seems to me, knocked down about 10 floors?
Well, I think there's a few different factors to take into consideration of how things are going to go. Firstly, we've got to do all our rescheduled shows for starters. We've got when the pandemic hit, we had UV shows in Dubai, Indonesia, Colombia, Argentina, all over the world. We had them. We were going to have our busiest year yet. And most of those deals.
So you have to take care of those ticket holders first.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we've got to reschedule all those dates. Not some of them we're not going to reschedule because some of the promoters aren't going to now, or some of the venues are no longer there. But most of them, we need to find dates to do those again. So that's something to bear in mind straight away, that if you're a new artist that's come through, that's been building their name in the past 12 months, that's now hoping to tour when the pandemic starts, you've got a good 6 months of, when the clubs reopen again, you've got a good at least 6 months of not being able to get shows because promoters have got to honor shows they've already committed to. Mm-hmm. So that's something to bear in mind. Yeah. Having said that, you may get some promoters who don't want to take a punt on a big artist straight away because they might not have the money, or they're scared that the show's going to get cancelled again or whatever. So that might bring opportunities for smaller artists to take shows. They don't want to take a punt on a 20k DJ, so they might put somebody who's $2,000. So that's something to kind of bear in mind as well. I do think it's quite difficult to guess what the landscape's going to be.
Yeah. Because
firstly, we don't know how. We don't know. Glastonbury's just got cancelled. That's 5 months away. This could go on. What happens if it goes on for the whole of 2021? Mm-hmm. That's the kind of, I remember when this first started, I'd done my show. I'd done a number. This time last year, I was doing a tour with Ali and Fida in North America. Mm-hmm. And I was just coming to the end of it this time last year. And there was this thing that was starting to kick off in China that people were starting to get worried about. And then obviously things unfolded over the next month or two. And I remember in March when a couple of shows got cancelled, Miami got cancelled. And I remember thinking, man, I hope my shows will be okay in April. Mm-hmm. A month down the line. And then obviously April got cancelled.
Right when Ultra got cancelled, that's when everyone followed suit.
Yeah, exactly. And then May got cancelled, and then the summer got cancelled. Tomorrowland and Ibiza got cancelled. And then we'd got shows that we'd rescheduled for autumn, and then they got cancelled. And it was just had this, and then it got to the point where literally Stuart, who does my bookings, mm-hmm. he didn't talk to anybody for months and months and months, for, like promoters, because it was pointless. Whereas now he's just starting to pick the conversations up again now. You know, they starting to get things ready for you know, when, you know, at the moment, I don't know what it's like there with US residents, but we can't travel anywhere. There's a travel ban on pretty much every country for people for the UK. Yeah. So there's no point in even thinking about shows at the moment, but conversations are there for a little bit further down the line, Ibiza or, you know, some of the summer festivals. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen and when? It's just, you know, you can kind of be optimistic and say, you know, our Prime Minister says everything is going to be a lot better after Easter. But the show, you know, clubs were the first thing to close, man. They're going to be the last thing to open.
Yeah.
So who knows what it'll be like? We'll see.
I fear that as well. Well, Paul, I just want to thank you again for taking the time to do this with me. And
yeah, my pleasure. It's good to speak to you.
It's good to speak with you as well. And take care. That's going to do it for the first episode of Erik's EDM World. I want to thank my guest, Paul Thomas, once again for joining me. I had such a blast talking with him. He's so cool. Look out for more podcasts on the way. Got some guests lined up that I think you all really enjoy. I struggled a little bit with this one. This is my first time doing things like this, and I'm learning a lot as I go along. So until next time, do your part in helping to control the human population and wrap that shit up. And I'll see you real soon. See ya.